Chance,
I'm James.
and this is Stereolab,
Mexico.
the country that we, the U.S., share a border with,
And the country that has so much.
and has had so much controversy.
Like in 1845, when the U.S. president at the time, James K. Polk, sent troops into disputed territory.
And provoked the Mexicans into the war, which the Mexicans couldn't win.
This war then caused the admittance of 7 states into the Union.
These states are still a cause of tension today.
I've got an idea for a Heinz ketchup commercial. I was at this super posh restaurant. Super posh. The type of place that has chandeliers and paintings on the wall and way too many forks. I think classical music was playing, but maybe it was jazz.
We're back to talking about the history behind the U.S., the U.S.-Mexico border.
And why lots of Mexican Americans and immigrants' rights activists say that we didn't cross the border crossed us.
This statement is saying that these parties believe that when the U.S. went to war with Mexico in 1845,
And subsequently won,
the U.S. took over a third of Mexico, and therefore the border moved.
So what these people are saying is that because the border moved, they should be allowed free passage into the U.S.
So why exactly do people say we didn't cross the border crossed us? Well, it's a big topic with some crazy politics.
We believe, along with many others, that in the Mexican-American War, President James K. Polk used executive overreach to achieve goals which should not be accomplished.
Or at least not in the way he did.
Americans in 1845 said that they got the land by purchase, not by conquest. But that's not the whole truth.
The United States kind of forced Mexico to sell some of their land.
Even if Mexico had not sold their land, I'm sure the U.S. would have gotten their hands on it anyway, or at least California and the rest of the West Coast.
Which was on President Polk's bucket list, along with other minor things.
So before President Polk had even started the war, he had asked Mexico to sell him the land he wanted for $25 million.
Which is around $878 million today.
That's a lot of money, but Mexico didn't want the moolah, so the U.S. provoked Mexico into a war by sending American troops onto Mexican land.
When the U.S. won, they gave Mexico $15 million.
Which is around $527 million today.
And Mexico had to take the money and cede the land.
So this $15 million deal is why some people say that the territory from the Mexican cession was bought, not conquered.
No, definitely classical. The hostess walks up to me and she says, "Mr. Sheeran, is this your first time dining with us?" And I say, "Yep." The waiter comes over, he's telling me about the specials. Super fancy vegetables, fancy sauces.
Welcome back to Stereolab.
Where today we are talking about the disputed Mexican-American territory.
And the U.S. got to where it is today.
We didn't cross the border crossed us is a highly controversial topic which we're going to hope to explain more in this episode.
This statement is referring to the war between the U.S. and Mexico in 1845.
And with war, of course, comes military action.
And prominent military figures,
like Ethan Allen Hitchcock.
And General Zachary Taylor.
While many who lived in the U.S. loved the idea of war, Ethan Allen Hitchcock, as well as many other Mexicans, did not.
He also thought that the U.S. provoked Mexico into a war, which it could not win.
Although General Hitchcock and many others believed that the war was bad, lots of other people thought the war would be beneficial, like this naval officer who said, quote, "Our armies are now in Mexico and will soon conquer the whole country."
Another provisional voice was that of Congress, most of which was on the side of Polk.
Only a few people voted against it, and they were strongly against slavery.
They feared that the new Mexican territory would be transformed into slavery states.
The U.S. didn't end up taking over all of Mexico.
This was because they wanted to keep the U.S. a white state.
And if all of Mexico was conquered, the U.S. would have to deal with a more colored population than they wanted.
With the evidence we have, you can start to see that the saying, "we didn't cross the border crossed us," may be somewhat accurate.
And that Mexican-American immigrants may have some ground to stand on in relation to this quote.
So many things can help solve the unsolvable Mexican-American border crisis.
But nothing is being done for the long term.
So with that, I'm James.
I'm Chance.
And
this is Stereolab.
Lab.